Welcome to Slight Reliability, learning SRE one day at a time. I'm Stephen Townsend. Hello and welcome back to Slight Reliability. I'm Stephen Townsend and this is the show where we learn about SRE and observability 1 week at a time. In data science and business intelligence, we continually hear the word insight. Products are branded as providing customer insight or business insight. And in the world of observability, I see it as well, maybe to a lesser degree. According to Google, my go-to dictionary, insight is the capacity to gain an accurate and deep understanding of someone or something. I think insight is ephemeral. It's easy to say, hard to define, even harder to obtain. In episode 45, Paige Cruz talks about that aha moment when something clicks into place and suddenly you gain an understanding about what's going on or how something works. That is what insight is to me. With that in mind, I think it's a bit disingenuous to claim that a tool can provide you insight. It's a bit like saying a CAD tool is going to provide you great building designs, or a chalk and blackboard is somehow going to provide you accurate mathematical theories. We need tools to do the work, but it's us as human beings who go from step 1 to step 50 with all the intangible paths and leaps in logic required each step of the way. What I'm saying is that I think insight sits in the realm of the creative. You can write procedures, checklists, and write and run algorithms, render charts, draw diagrams, and filter and process data all day long and not obtain any insight from any of it. Yet somehow you might be staring at the raw text of an application log, and in a moment of brilliance, it all suddenly makes sense. What I think tools can realistically do is to blend understanding of the human mind and how we interpret and understand data with the way that we present and structure that data, to give us a fighting chance of having that aha moment. I'm not an authority on this topic, but what I can do is reflect back on my career at the times I've found insight and what conditions that occurred in. Firstly, I've found insight most often comes to me in situations where I'm able to freely explore the data. That's a pretty broad thing to say, but to me, being able to explore data means I might not know in advance what I'm looking for. I just want to slice and dice or drill down into the data that I have available, looking for things that stand out. Being able to visualize more than just 2 dimensions. An example in my past would be plotting response times over the duration of a performance test on a scatter plot. Being able to color the points on the chart based on the URL of the request being made. Being able to change the size of the points maybe to the size of the response coming back from the server. Also being able to zoom in on any period of time or filter to exclude events which don't meet a certain criteria. This is powerful, and the process of applying these kinds of exploratory filters is often how I would find actionable insight. I think seeing raw data is extremely helpful in itself. It let me see outliers and weird patterns of system behavior or user behavior that might otherwise be hidden from view when you use aggregates. On a totally different tangent, I think that having a bit of mental space really helps. If you're under the pump to produce a report by a rapidly approaching deadline, you're probably less likely to take the time, explore the data effectively, or spot an unusual pattern, even if you do get a chance to look at it. There's something to be said here about slack time and how valuable it is both for responding to the unexpected and freeing up our minds for inspiration. I'm quite interested in how the concepts of slow thinking and fast thinking come into play, where fast thinking might be your brain automatically interpreting a pattern in the data that you're looking at to come to a useful conclusion. Slow thinking, on the other hand, might still happen quite suddenly, but only as the result of a series of carefully planned experiments or iterations of analysis. I'd love to have someone on the show who studies or works in this space for a living, whether from a psychological, neurological, maybe studies the senses and how they work in the human body. If you know anyone who works in this space and who you think would be willing to talk about this topic on the podcast, please reach out to me via the details in the description. This is all related to what I think is the single biggest challenge for observability right now. We collect a lot of data, but are we using that effectively to build and operate better products and services? I think our ability to collect and store data has rapidly improved in recent years, yet our ability to use that data effectively remains dubious at best. I don't think throwing better tools at the problem is the answer. I don't think waiting around for some #AI solution is acceptable either. What do you think? Do you feel like observability data is providing you genuine insight? Is it helping you to build and operate software better? Provide more reliable service? Achieve business outcomes? Or deliver a better customer experience? I don't think that I necessarily have the answers to this conundrum either. I think part of it is being really thoughtful about what telemetry we capture and why, and teaching engineers to explore data themselves rather than to just passively take in a dashboard which somebody else has created. Those two things I think would go a long way in helping us get more insight more frequently, and just generally providing telemetry which is actually helping us direct ourselves towards our business objectives or our customer objectives. I guess to sum up this episode, I would say don't believe anyone who promises you insight. It's not something you can promise. It is not something you can control necessarily. All you can do is create the conditions which are conducive for insight to come. Just a little bit of a housekeeping thing for those of you who regularly watch or listen to the podcast. The frequency of the episodes may be changing. I'm looking at releasing at least bi-weekly, potentially weekly, depending on what's happening in the industry and whether there's something that needs to be said. The reason for that is that I am taking on a slightly different role within the organization. I'm going to be spending a lot more time looking at and working with open source projects or commercial products which have integration opportunities with the Squared Up product. So in order to make space for that, I thought it was a good idea not to push myself to produce an episode of Slight Reliability every single week. So apologies for anyone who likes to listen weekly. I will try and make the content as frequent as I can, but bi-weekly will be the new standard. So that being said, thank you once again for tuning in to Slight Reliability. I will see you all potentially next week, if not the week after that. See you next time.